takes the top spot away. Here comes Kyle Busch on the inside. Haven't seen a lot of passes made on the inside. And this time, Jason White's able to surge out in front.
What about Kevin Harvick? What an aggressive restart he had.
Oh! Kyle Busch into the wall hard.
Elliott Sadler and Kyle Busch make contact. It's not going to be 4 to 1, 4 to 0 for Kyle Busch.
Kyle Busch, right front damage, severe damage, and we got problems in turn number 4. Josh Richards in the 51 is around. The 09 also with problems. That's Brian Silas. No caution.
We stay green.
Those guys all got going in a hurry.
Kyle Busch trying to make his way down the racetrack. He is still slow as we pass the halfway point. Kyle working his way through 3 and 4. Now he ducks down to the bottom of the track, but he stays on the track.
Elliott and Kyle had issues earlier in the race. You remember when Elliott and Kyle got together and Elliott ran up and sort of hit Kyle in the back to let him know he didn't like what he saw.
And there Kyle goes for retaliation. Hits the 24 of Elliott Sadler. Sadler goes around. This time the caution comes out.
Holy cow.
Is it a full moon?
It's Bristol.
That's enough. We don't even need a full moon.
Kyle Busch waited on the racetrack. He goes right back behind the wall, and he'll climb out of that 18 truck. But he waited on the racetrack long enough for Elliott Sadler to come back by. He got his retaliation, spun the 24. Kyle Busch has parked the 18 behind the wall.
I would think that NASCAR's probably going to tell his guys not to even worry about fixing that truck because we may not let you back out.
Yeah, I think that's about enough is what NASCAR will say about that.
Look at the damage to the 24. The Joe Dennett Motorsports second entry tonight.
The 24 truck didn't hit anything with the front end, Phil. He has that damage on the left rear. I don't think that'll really hurt that truck much. He gets to pit road, gets him some tires. His strategy will be a little bit different than some of the other guys. This isn't over, Rick. He could still have a shot at winning this thing.
Started on the pole. Take a look at what just took place.
This is the initial incident right here. See Elliott right up against the wall. Kyle came up the racetrack like he wasn't there. Now, granted, Elliott didn't have a whole lot of his truck there, but he was making the move on the outside, had momentum on the outside.
Well, they had issues earlier. If Elliott Sadler hadn't been roughed up by Kyle earlier, he would have probably let him have that bit of space. But they had issues earlier, and Elliott said, you're not taking it from me again.
There it is right there. You see Elliott had committed to the high side. He had a little bit of momentum on Kyle Busch. If Kyle hadn't moved up, Elliott probably would have went on by him. But there was the contact. There it is, and there's another view of it right there.
We saw Kevin Harvick do basically that same thing to Jason White on the restart. He crowded him up off the corner. Not as bad as Kyle tried to crowd up Elliott, but he did crowd him up.
Riding along with Kyle, this is what happens into the wall.
I think that's a situation where he thought he was clear. He came off that corner like he was clear.
And this is the retaliation. Elliott Sadler tries to go by. Kyle Busch speeds up, clips him in the left rear, spins him around,
and then hits him in the left rear again.
Yeah, we're really fortunate that nobody else was involved, and that's the problem when you're going to
look at James.
You're going to take matters in your own hand. There was a guy on the inside, the 31, that's battling for this championship. If he gets caught up in it, then that's residual that shouldn't have happened.
Watch, he spins him around, but it looks like he even goes after him again and tries to clobber the left rear of that truck.
The hits just keep coming for the driver of the 18. He lost his license earlier this week for the speeding issue he had back in North Carolina. Now he has this issue on the racetrack at Bristol, trying to go for 6 in a row, 6 wins in NASCAR's top 3 divisions.
Well, the preliminary bout we had was Jones and Crump.
Yeah,
so that was the undercard.
That was the undercard.
The main event.
This is the main event, I would say. Here is the 18 of Kyle Busch and the 24 of Elliott Sadler. Elliott's still on the racetrack,
right,
still with a reasonable chance at winning this race. It doesn't appear that his damage is too severe. He's going to have to come to pit road, get that rear tailgate tied up there.
And he's going to need some tires.
So he makes his way onto pit road now. Let's go down trackside to Ray Dunlap.
Well, guys, they are going to fix this Dollar General Tundra for Kyle Busch to get him back out there. Not sure why. I guess for the owner's points, they have to put a spindle on the right front, and they do have some fender damage here in the left front that they hope to fix. But it appears like once they get that spindle replaced and an upper front control arm, they should be ready to go back to the track. So Kyle not getting out of his truck, and they are planning to return to try to acquire some more points.
And guys, we called it up here that Kyle thought he probably had Elliott cleared there. spotters are pretty important at this racetrack. Does a spotter say you're clear, you go up, you get hit, and then all of a sudden a spotter's almost got to cover his behind and say, yeah, he came up, got you, and that's why there's retaliation?
Well, you have such a great relationship usually from driver to spotter. Those guys are best buddies most of the time. They trust each other immensely. If the spotter did say clear and he turned and Kyle turned right into the wall, you would think that Kyle would say to the spotter, was I clear? And maybe the answer was, I thought you were, but obviously he wasn't.
And
so
he didn't feel like
but you've got a driver like Kyle Busch. I'm almost assuming that he clears himself a lot of the times. Most of the top drivers, you know, the spotter's there to help, but generally they have a feel about what they're doing, and they can feel if they've got that guy cleared, and they know the momentum they've had. So he might have assumed that he had more of Elliott behind him than he did and tried to crowd him up, and it didn't work.
And this plays big into our owner points right now. Delana Harvick, the owner of the 2, driven by Kevin Harvick. The 18, the owner, Kyle Busch, driven by Kyle Busch, coming in dead even. They were tied for the lead in owner points, and that's a big thing to accomplish. Kyle Busch coming into the series a year ago, won his first